This is Daf Yerushalmi Ma'asros Trumos. In the article Oz Bahar edition, we're on the top of Daf Beis Amud Aleph, the third line, Rabbi Ila. And in the Vilna, we're on Aleph of Beis, no longer in the same place. And that is in the third to last narrow line, Rabbi Ila. So the Gemara says, and the Kavanah starts, Ve'omar Rabbi Ila. But man, okay, what are you talking about here? He's coming to explain what Rabbi Yana said. And yesterday we saw Rabbi Yochanan saying, Rabbi Yana, Baal Levi Ken Lochem Nachlemach Mashiyesh Lechav Ve'ein Lo Lechav Litain Lo Yotze Lekav Yishiyotchav Yod Shavim Bo Like Yishilchav Pei Hefker. And from Rabbi Yochanan, Chabura is a maksha, Rehekdesh, Ein Yodav Yod Shavim, Kamish Yodav Yod Shavim. Okay, so I'm Rabbi Ila, Ma'anokei Ma'atah about Imishnis Marcha, Kri, Bishus Hefker. If Miruach happened up on the jurisdiction of Hefker, Bishus Hekdesh, or jurisdiction of Hekdesh, on Matare Shis Goncha, there says the first of your grain, Lo Shel Hefker, not Hefker, Bishus Goncha, your grain, Lo Shel Hekdesh, not Hekdesh. Okay, so Mr. Baba Shivker Shibolim. Your mafkir, the standing stalks, hifker shibolim, your mafkir, the sheep. Sorry. B'chazar b'zocha ben, and then you were zocha them before miruach. B'hefker patur, is it before miruach? Yeah. So after Potter, and because there was a time when the Levi had a chelik in it, when it was after Hekdesh, where nobody has a chelik in it, at that time, chayiv. So there was never a time when Levi had an equal hand with the Yisrael. So the time when he didn't have an equal, they both had, they were both equal that they didn't have a hand in it, but they weren't equal in having a hand in it. So Behefker, we mafker the shibolim, and then zoich and the shibolim. Then it's potter, because at that time, when it was hefker, yad halevi, yad yisrael shaveh. When you made a hekdesh when shibolim and were paid about the shibolim, so then there's no time when yad yisrael, yad levi are shaveh in shaychas to it. They're shaveh only not having shaychas to it. A hefker potter, minahida Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Yanai. That's what Rabbi Yochanan saying. Rabbi Yanai, Baal Levi Keilu Chelef Nachlo Yimach V'Chulei. And in this case, he has a chelik in nachlo. Hekdesh chayev, hekdesh chayev. Minodar tina tamar that we learned over there. Hekdesh kama padak kama chayeves. If you were consecrated kama, well, still standing stalks, and then redeem it while it's still standing stalks, you chayev in pale. And so too, if you're makdish sheaves and pay the sheaves, you only patura. From parts from Peah, if it's in the hands like this, the time of Kitzira, which is the time of Chalos Chiv Peah. So similarly, by Meiser, he's only potter when his hands of Hekdesh Mishas Chiyuvo, which is the time of Miruach. But if you're Makdish Shibolim and play the Shibolim, the Meiser takes effect. It's supposed to be Hefker, that if you're Makdish Shibolim and play the Shibolim, you're potter. The Gemara explains, Ma ben Hefker u Ma ben Hekdesh, Hefker Yotza Divrei Hakol. The Hefker has no has no ownership during that time. So everybody's equal in it. Hekdesh, Lo Yotza De Gizbar. Hekdesh has not left the hands of the Gizbar. And the Gizbar, this treasure is like the Bailim. And the Levi has no chelik in at that time, nor does Yisrael. It's interesting that Kamaraki says if not for the drasha of the Gancha, the Gizbar would be chayav. I don't know if I'm not so happy with that, because the Gizbar is not an owner; he's only has a jurisdiction, authority. So I'm not sure that why Kamaraki would assume that the Gizbar would be chayav if not for the Gancha. Anyway, Amar Rabbi Abraham said, "Afilu de ba'ilin nama yotza." He says, you know what? The hekdesh, not only is it well, yesterday Gizbar, is there still some ownership on it, that of the hekdesh, but it's still the original owner's ownership. Why? It has some shaykhs to it, some zikah to it, because we tell him you are the first responsibility, you're first in line to redeem it. So therefore, it still even has a shaykhs of the original owner, and for Shteitzach, not the Levi. Rabbi Zira, Rabbi Yasser, Shem Elez said, Hazorea Sada Hefker, you plant your seeds in a Hefker field, Chayv Maisus. You Chayv Maisus, even though the field remains Hefker, because the Zera is yours. And therefore, as Kav Menaki puts it, Zaracha Karina Bay. Called your Zera, and therefore Chayv Maisus. Rabbi Yonah Mafi Klishte, Rabbi Yonah expressed this in a different manner. Bezacha besada hefker b'gdilel. Chayev, it's the same principle, but a different scenario. You also chayev b'maisros when you were zoiche and stay hefker and everything which grows in it. So even though the grain grew hefker, still at the time of the ktsira, it's called zaracha, and therefore in that time the Levi has no chelik in it. So therefore you're chayev in Trumas and Maisros. Rabbi Chia Barada. What? Boakim Rabbi Yochanan. That's Rabbi Yochanan. Command pictures, mushrooms and truffles and mushrooms. Mao Shechem Chayv Maisus. Omle Rabbi Yochanan, B'Shem Rabbi Simoy. Sib Aserta says, Kol Devar Zuas Aracha. You have to meiser all of the grain of your seed. Davashu Nizra Matzmiach. This means something which is planted and grows. You also command them trios as opposed to truffles and mushrooms. Einam nizros umatzmichos. They are not zorea umatzmiach. There's a whole interesting kuntras in the back of the Kavanaki. It says all vegetation, including truffles and mushrooms, need for their growth several different chemicals, primarily carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and the combinations of these, which are called carbohydrates. These make up the energy which is necessary for other activity, such as for growth and expansion. To build their bodies, you also need nitrogen, which helps make other proteins, from which they have things of structure. The normal plants, so to speak, their carbon from the air through the leaves, and their oxygen and their hydrogen through water that they draw up from the ground with their roots. And with this they build up the energy. With this they build up through the energy they receive from the sun, the carbohydrates which are required for them. This chemical process is produced by a green substance in leaves, which is called chlorophyll, and this also generates the seeds from which the next generation arises. But mushrooms and truffles don't have leaves and not chlorophyll, therefore they can't make up their carbohydrates by themselves. They have to get them from elsewhere, and that means from other plants or from the remnants of plants which die, and therefore they're parasites. They're also different in that they, in order to grow, they do not produce seeds, but tiny specks, which are called spores, that normally cannot be seen by the eye, only by a microscope. And also, in terms of their nutrition, the mushrooms and truffles are different than normal, so to speak, vegetation, because their nutritional value is machlekes amongst the scientists. Some say that they actually are not nutritious at all. And because of on account of these differences, we have several differences in halacha, including the one discussed over here, with the scientific analysis. Okay. Rabbi Yoina, Mafik Lishna, Rabbi Yoina expressed differently. Nesha arts protasa, because the land emits them. They erupt from the land. They don't grow from seed. Again, the spores, since they're microscopic, it's as if it's coming from nowhere. stone comes out of the land. When something microscopic is not considered halacha to be significant. Avapi Shushamrlo, see for the next part of the going back on the subsequent part of the Mishnah, that even though you would normally grow this vegetable larger, it's still chayiv when it's small as well. But if you're not keeping it in order to become more food worthy, better, larger food, but it's going to get hard like wood when it grows larger, then you're not chayiv, neither when it's larger, it's smaller, nor when it's larger. Even when it's smaller, when it's the way achila, it's not considered significant to be chayiv and ma'asros. Rabbi Yam Shimon Lakish said, "Zuli divrei, zulo hotzi divrei Ram Gamliel." Our mission is not Ram Gamliel. It's the entire lot of there. Remember, Timro shel Tilson, the tomorrows, which are the soft shoots, which go at the beginning of the branch's growth, are suitable to eat, even though they're not normally eaten. So he says that the shoots of fenugreek, mustard, shabulavan, and white beans, chayavas and they're chayav and maisis, you want to eat them, even though eventually they're going to get hard and become branches. So that's not like our Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi said, "V'chi machmas ha'ochel," says because somebody eats them. Somebody, an isolated person, Gamliel Mechayev. That's Rabbi Gamliel was Mechayev because that. Me'atav, that's the case. Afilu Yarkon. This is even the vegetables should be chayiv. And Rabbi Gamliel said only tomorrows of tilson are chayiv, not the vegetables, even though some people eat them. Ela Gamliel savar chashuvas and elchel. So it's a different machlokes. The Rabbi Gamliel holds that they're considered food, and Rabbi Omri ain't chashuvas elchel. They're not considered elchel. So I've written linear side Megmar. Echanami, Rabbi Gamliel, the fact that it is your shomer, these shoots, means you are significant, given significance as food, despite the fact that later on they're going to become toughened. And that seems to be actually the halacha. Okay? So I think that brings us actually to the end of today. Yes, we're on now Gimel Amud Aleph at the top. No, we're not. We just have to feel a little bit more. Also, we learned from here, from this brisa. The following brisa, our Mishnah comes to argue this brisa. The time Amar B'Yishub Kav Soy, B'Yishub says, "Emiyamai Lom Lani Libi Lomar Lo Adam Tzei L'Kol Chatimor Shel Tilson Shel Chadav Shel Lavan Ushlok L'Fochim Min HaMaasros." I never would be part of these these shoots, because I was Cheshire Gamliel. But according to our Mishnah, this seems to be the case. They seem to be potter from Ma'asros. The next part of the Gemara also is somewhat related. I think already, since that's Gimel Amud Aleph, there's the two dots here in the Gemara. So we'll stop here for today.